The bob haircut is one of the most requested styles for women over 60. And it is also one of the most gotten wrong. Not because women are making bad decisions, but because there are so many versions of the bob that nobody ever sits you down and explains which one was actually made for your face, your hair texture, and your age. So women walk into salons asking for a bob and walk out with one that does absolutely nothing for them, or worse, one that quietly adds years instead of taking them away. Here is what most people do not know. The bob is not one haircut. It is a family of haircuts. And inside that family, 5 specific members are genuinely, remarkably flattering for women over 60. And the rest? Well, let us just say they are better left for someone else. By the time we get to bob number 3 today, you are going to understand something about your own face shape that your stylist probably never took the time to explain to you. And that understanding alone is going to change every single salon conversation you have from this point forward. Stay with me all the way to the end because the 5th bob on this list is the one almost nobody talks about, and it might just be the most flattering of them all. Hello beautiful, welcome back. If you are a regular here at Ageless Style Secrets, you already know that this is the place where we have honest, warm, practical conversations about looking absolutely stunning after 60 without spending a fortune or feeling like you have to follow rules that were never made for you. And if this is your very first time here, I am so glad you found us today. Welcome home. Now I have to tell you, today's topic has been sitting in my content list for a very long time because so many of you have asked about it. The bob. Specifically which bob actually works for women in our age group and which ones we should kindly leave alone. And I wanted to make sure that when I finally covered it, I covered it properly, with enough detail and enough honesty that you could walk away from this video and into your next salon appointment feeling completely informed and completely confident. That is exactly what we are going to do today. So settle in, because this one is going to be really good. Before we get into all 5 bobs, if you have not yet subscribed to this channel, now is the perfect moment. Hit that subscribe button right now. It is free. It takes 2 seconds, and it means every new video we create lands directly in your feed without you having to search for us. And if you have ever walked out of a salon feeling like something was not quite right about your haircut but you could not put your finger on exactly what, give this video a like. By the end you are going to know exactly what that something was. Alright. Let us talk about bobs. Before we name all 5, I want to give you the one concept that will make everything today click into place immediately. It is something I call the frame principle, and once you understand it you will never look at a bob the same way again. The frame principle is this. Your haircut is a frame around your face, exactly the way a picture frame is around a painting. And just like a picture frame, the right frame makes the painting look more beautiful, more defined, and more intentional. The wrong frame makes even a beautiful painting look wrong. Keep the frame principle in mind as we go through each of these 5 bobs, because it explains exactly why each one works as beautifully as it does. Bob number 1, the layered bob with internal softness. Let us start with what I consider the most universally flattering bob for women over 60, and the one I recommend most often when someone asks me where to begin. The layered bob sits anywhere between the chin and the collarbone. The length itself is not the defining feature. What makes this bob different from a standard bob is what happens inside the hair. Internal layers, meaning layers cut throughout the mid-lengths and ends rather than just on the surface, remove excess weight from the hair and create movement and softness throughout the entire cut. Here is why this matters so much after 60. As we get older, our hair naturally changes in texture and density. Many women find that their hair becomes finer or slightly thinner over time. A standard one-length bob adds weight and can make fine hair look flat and heavy simultaneously, which is a very unflattering combination. Internal layers solve this entirely by removing the bulk that causes flatness while keeping the length that gives the cut its shape. The layered bob also has extraordinary movement. Every time you turn your head or catch a breeze, the hair moves naturally and softly, and movement in hair always communicates vitality and youth. This is one of those cuts that genuinely looks better in real life than it does in a photo because the movement is where the magic happens. When you ask your stylist for this cut, say these exact words. I would like a bob with internal layers throughout the mid-lengths and ends, and I want soft movement rather than a blunt heavy finish. That sentence alone will get you most of the way there. Bob number 2, the asymmetrical bob. This one surprises people because it sounds dramatic. And in some versions it absolutely is. But there is a soft, elegant version of the asymmetrical bob that is one of the most quietly flattering haircuts available to women over 60, and it works for reasons that are rooted in basic visual science. An asymmetrical bob is cut slightly longer on one side than the other. The difference does not need to be extreme. Even a subtle half-inch to 1-inch variation between the two sides creates the same visual effect as a more dramatic version, but with a more refined, sophisticated finish. Here is the science behind why it works so beautifully. The human face is naturally symmetrical from left to right in its basic structure, but perfectly symmetrical frames around the face can make features look flat and static. An asymmetrical bob introduces a diagonal line into the frame, and diagonal lines are universally flattering because they create the impression of movement, definition, and dimension. For women over 60 specifically, the longer side of an asymmetrical bob can be positioned to gently sweep toward the jawline, which softens and balances the lower face beautifully. It draws the eye along that diagonal sweep rather than stopping it bluntly at one fixed point. Ask your stylist for a softly asymmetrical bob, longer on one side by about 1/2 inch to 1 inch, with the longer side sweeping gently toward the jaw. Mention that you want the finish to look refined rather than edgy, and a good stylist will immediately understand the direction you are going in. Bob number 3, the textured French bob. Here is the one I promised would tell you something about your own face shape that your stylist may never have explained. The French bob is having a genuine moment right now, but more importantly it has always been one of the most flattering lengths for women with oval and heart-shaped faces, and here is why that matters. The French bob sits just below the cheekbone, slightly shorter than a traditional chin-length bob. It is cut with texture throughout, meaning the ends are not blunt but rather slightly undone and feathered. And it almost always includes a soft fringe or curtain bang that falls gently across the forehead. Now here is the face shape information. If you have an oval face, which is characterized by a gently rounded forehead and a jaw that is slightly narrower than the temples, the French bob frames your face at its widest natural point, your cheekbones, which creates a beautifully balanced and defined appearance. If you have a heart-shaped face, which has a wider forehead and a narrower chin, the French bob adds gentle visual width at the jaw level, balancing the proportions of the face in a way that very few other cuts can do. The texture throughout is critical. A blunt French bob without texture can look costume-like and unflattering. A textured French bob with soft undone ends and a gentle fringe looks effortlessly chic, lived in, and incredibly elegant all at once. Tell your stylist you want a textured French bob sitting just below the cheekbone with a soft curtain fringe and undone feathered ends. If your stylist hesitates or suggests going longer, share why the length matters for your face shape and hold your ground. The specific length is what makes this cut work. Bob number 4, the stacked bob with volume at the crown. Now we are getting into territory that genuinely changes everything for women with finer or thinner hair, because the stacked bob does something that almost no other cut can do. It creates the visual impression of fullness, thickness, and volume where there may not be a lot of natural density. A stacked bob is cut shorter at the nape and gradually longer toward the front. The stacking happens at the back of the head, where the layers are cut in a way that they overlap and build on each other, creating a rounded, full shape at the back and crown that looks beautifully voluminous from every angle. From the front the stacked bob frames the face with longer pieces that angle gently toward the jaw. From the side and back it creates a beautiful rounded silhouette that communicates fullness and health. And that upward rounding at the crown creates the upward lift we have talked about on this channel before, drawing the eye up and giving the whole face a more defined, awake appearance. For women whose hair has become finer over the years, the stacked bob is genuinely one of the most transformative options available. The architecture of the cut itself creates volume that styling products alone could never fully achieve. And because the back is shorter, this cut is also one of the easiest and fastest to style in the morning, which is always a welcome bonus. Ask your stylist for a stacked bob with a rounded stacked back and longer face framing pieces in the front. Tell them you want maximum volume and lift at the crown and that you would like the overall shape to look full and rounded from the side. Those specific directions will get you exactly what you are looking for. Bob number 5, the soft curly or wavy bob. And here is the fifth bob, the one almost nobody talks about, and the one that might just be the most flattering of everything on this list for the right woman. If you have naturally curly or wavy hair, or if you love to wear your hair with waves or curls, a bob cut specifically to work with your curl or wave pattern rather than against it is one of the most stunning and most uniquely flattering haircuts available to women over 60. Here is what most women with curly hair do not know. A curly bob cut dry is completely different from a curly bob cut wet. When curly or wavy hair is cut wet and then dries, it almost always ends up shorter than intended and can lose the shape that was planned. A stylist who cuts curly hair dry, or who at minimum cuts the final shape dry after cutting the bulk wet, understands how curls behave and can create a bob that sits exactly where it is meant to sit once the hair is in its natural state. A well-cut curly bob for women over 60 should have layers that encourage the curls to spring and move rather than way down. It should be shaped so that the curls frame the face at the most flattering points, generally the cheekbone and jaw. And it should have enough internal shaping that it does not become a triangle, which is the most common problem with curly bobs that are not cut correctly. The curly bob communicates something incredibly powerful. It says this woman knows exactly who she is and she is completely comfortable in her own skin. There is a confidence and an effortlessness to beautifully maintain natural curls in a well-shaped bob that no other style can replicate, and at 60 and beyond that kind of confident, authentic elegance is one of the most beautiful things a woman can wear. If you have curly or wavy hair, find a stylist who specializes specifically in curly hair cutting. It makes an enormous difference and is genuinely worth seeking out. Okay, let us pause right here for just a moment because I want to ask you something. Which of these 5 bobs are you leaning toward? Are you drawn to the soft movement of the layered bob, the refined diagonal of the asymmetrical, the chic simplicity of the French bob, the volume of the stacked bob, or the natural confidence of the curly bob? Drop it in the comments below right now. I genuinely read every single comment and it helps me create more of the content that actually helps you. And if you are watching this with someone in mind, a friend, a sister, a mother, someone who has been thinking about a haircut change and just needs a little encouragement and information, please share this video with them. It costs nothing and it could genuinely change how they feel walking out of their next salon appointment. If you are not yet subscribed, now is a really great time to do that. Just hit that subscribe button and you will catch every new video the moment it goes live. Now let us bring everything together. 5 bobs. 5 very different silhouettes. 5 very different ways of framing the face. And yet every single one of them works for women over 60 for the same underlying reason. They all apply the frame principle correctly. The layered bob uses internal softness and movement to frame without heaviness. The asymmetrical bob uses a diagonal line to add dimension and gently balance the lower face. The textured French bob frames the face at the cheekbone using texture and a soft fringe to create a beautifully balanced proportion. The stacked bob builds volume and fullness at the crown to create upward lift and the impression of thickness. And the curly bob works with the natural texture of the hair to create a frame that is uniquely personal, deeply flattering, and completely authentic. The most important thing I want you to take away from this video is not just the name of the bob you want to try next. It is the language to ask for it with confidence. Because knowing what you want is one thing, but being able to communicate it clearly to your stylist is what actually gets you out of the salon feeling like the most beautiful version of yourself. Use the specific phrases I gave you throughout this video. Tell your stylist about internal layers, about diagonal lines, about the exact length you want and why. If your stylist does not understand or pushes back without a good explanation, it is completely okay to seek out someone who does. You deserve a stylist who listens and who understands the specific needs of your hair at this stage of life. Closing. The right bob for you is not just a haircut. It is a frame that says this is who I am, this is how I feel, and I am absolutely comfortable and confident in both. And that kind of statement is available to every single one of you regardless of your hair type, your face shape, or your budget. If this video helped you see the bob differently and gave you something concrete to bring to your next salon appointment, please give it a thumbs up before you leave. Drop a comment telling me which of the 5 bobs you are going to try first. I am genuinely excited to hear from you and I read every single comment. And if you are not yet part of this community, hit that subscribe button right now. We put out new videos every single week, all designed to help you look and feel absolutely radiant after 60, without spending a fortune to get there. Thank you so much for being here with me today. You are elegant, you are beautiful, and I cannot wait to see you in the very next one.